good evening, everyone. Patriots across the world, we are back on this lovely, windy, but quite warm actually, down here in Brighton at least, Sunday evening. I can honestly say, I think for some reason, there's a new optimism in the air. There's a spring in everyone's step today. There's a smile on a few faces. Joining me tonight is Danny in Spain. Good evening, Danny.
Good evening, everyone.
We have Richard, who's just fresh back in Northern Ireland. Good evening, Richard. That's it, mate. And we have Joseph Robertson down there underneath me. Good evening, Joseph. Can you hear me all right, Joseph?
Mild Shropshire.
Mild Shropshire. Yeah, yes, it is mild, actually. Brilliant. Did they kick you out?
No.
Did they want to get rid of you?
It was when I was in the army. The camp I was in got blown up, so I left shortly after that.
Right, we have over 4,000 people watching already, which is more, by the way, than Sky News currently has watching live. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us so early. Before we go any further, Richard, I think you got a little update for us or two on Tommy. Tell us what you know.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously his situation has improved slightly. The message is that the prison on the whole are treating him fairly well, but what they're not doing is categorizing it correctly. I mean, Tommy is a category D prisoner. He's a civil prisoner. He's in a cat B prison, so he's in a high security prison with a whole lot of extremely violent and dangerous criminals. A lot of them are Islamists. And he is still in solitary confinement. His regime is better. He's now able to use the gym at 5 days a week. And I think this last week, I heard he's had 7 days in the gym. He's getting about 2.5 hours in the gym, half an hour shower time. His food situation's okay. But we've got to remember he's still in solitary confinement. So he's still in a cell on his own. He doesn't see anyone. He doesn't talk to anyone. When they move him around the prison, he's kept away from other prisoners. So psychologically, it's very, very damaging. And I think the consensus is that his legal team, he's got a specialist prison lawyer, and what she's I think is definitely going to push for is a judicial review and try and get the situation sorted so that he either goes to a Cat D prison. And the other issue is that a lot of these criminals who are in prison are on a 60-40 release scheme where they get released once they've done 40% of their sentence. Now, Tommy is not a criminal prisoner; he's a civil prisoner, and he is basically in a situation where he's not being allowed to avail of that scheme. So he's been treated totally differently to everybody else that's in prison. So it's one rule for Tommy. And, it's not just two, it's actually 3-tier policing, because you've got the 2-tier policing for us lot, as Richard Tice called us. And then you've got the 3-tier policing when it comes to Tommy. The other issue he's got is obviously, I mean, people have got to think about his mental health as well while he's in there, because he suffers from PTSD, and he suffers from PTSD because of something that happened to him in Wood Hill Prison. And let's get it right. There's still a situation, if things went wrong in the way he's been looked after, he could still be violently attacked. And that's always got to be preying on his mind the whole time. So a few of us that are close to Tommy have been thinking about this. And I'm just going to put this out there. We're thinking another mass demonstration in London, end of January, beginning of February, give people a chance for their bank accounts to recover from Christmas and get out on the streets. And again, exactly the same as we've done. It'll be an event. It'll not be anything aggressive or causing any problems. It'll be the same as we always do. We'll be talking to the police from probably Monday. And so that's what we're thinking. We're thinking about doing something at the end of January, beginning of February. So we just need to work out a date. And again, then we need to get some good speakers to come and say some stuff. And we've got plenty of time to get some fairly high profile people there. So that's what we're looking at.
I'll be seeing him. I think the week after next. Sorry. Did someone say Paul? Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Paul. Just one more thing, mate. Also. Amit Singh, who has been a friend of Tommy's, you know the way Tommy's this really racist guy, right? And he's so racist that all his best mates are not white. So Amit Singh, who is one of his best mates from back in the EDL days, a Sikh lad, He's taken up the slack doing some of the documentary work, and he's just released his first documentary through Urban Scoop called Kira's Justice, and it's going to go live.
I'm speaking to Amit tomorrow, and that interview will go live in the next couple of 3 days.
Right. Well, what they want to do, Paul, they want to push that video out, because obviously it's took up a lot of Amit's time. It's took a lot of resources from Urban Scoop, so they want to get that out as widely as possible. I think it's on Twitter and it's probably on YouTube as well at the minute, but we just need to get it pushed out there, So that's the update from Tommy's side of things.
And did you see, just while we're on the subject of Tommy, did you see the little tweet that Elon Musk put out today defending him?
Wow!
Did you see it?
That's massive.
Paul, is there any way? No, that's not Elon's one though, is it?
No, it's not. But let's have a look. Elon Musk reveals he's watched Tommy's film Silenced and urges others to watch it too. Plans that are being made to save Britain. Joseph, did you see any of that earlier on at all?
Yeah, it was all over Twitter. I mean, Elon's looks like he's had a day looking at only UK news, which is quite encouraging for all of us. He's picking up on every single story as it goes. Yeah. So yeah, good news. I mean, he shed light on this. He shed light on obviously the pledge or the petition rather going viral. He shed light on a couple of things today. So looks like we're getting a little bit more love from America, which you'd expect, and that should carry on and get stronger.
Absolutely. Go on. There's a little bit of a delay on my earphones tonight. Was that you, Richard?
Yeah, there's just one more thing from Tommy's team, and it's basically the information that was passed to Lewis Brackpool about this fella that was found dripping in blood at the scene of the murder of those 3 little girls. So we'd imagine we'll not say any more about him, but this fella that's in Belmarsh, Axel, Tommy gave information to Lewis that this guy was going to the mosque on a regular basis in Belmarsh, and as far as I know, since then Lewis has been unable to contact Tommy in the prison. Now I don't know if that's been resolved yet, but that's what I was being told sort of 10, 15 minutes ago. So I'm guessing it's still fairly current, but I haven't spoken to Lewis, so I'm not sure whether that's still affecting him at the minute. But so it just shows you. And the other problem that we've got with Tommy is they're not letting us communicate freely with him. I had an email blocked last week, which was talking about a matter that was very, very innocuous. I'm not going to, but it wasn't anything that would have been a compromise with security. And a lot of other people have had emails blocked, and ones coming from Tommy out of the prison are being blocked as well. So again, this is a massive assault on Tommy's liberties. And of course, while they've got him behind the door, they think they can pretty much do what they want with him. The other thing is just that the last one on Tommy. The person that has got to be ultimately responsible for this is the Justice Secretary and also the Home Secretary. They are the buck stops with those two offices. And
what is this? What is this in the chat?
Oh, I don't know. I ain't seen that.
I've not seen that either.
No.
Ezra's
Danny,
on,
could you have a quick look on just have a quick look, mate, and see what's going on there, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Just watched Ezra being arrested. I don't know what the hell that will be all about. So let's get on. Whilst Danny's having a quick look there, let's get on to the weekend's events. First of all, look, I hope Keir Starmer's not watching tonight, because if he is, he might have bad dreams. This petition that's gone viral, I mean, it's only released yesterday. I don't know how many it's got right now, but it's over 1.5 million signatures in, I believe, about 24 hours ish, give or take. I personally don't think it'll make any difference, because look, Starmer's got the skin of a rhino.
That one's got nearly 1.6 million. While I'm looking at that,
1.6, yeah,
and going up quite rapidly.
1.6 million.
Yeah, going up quite rapidly.
I agree with you, Paul. Yeah,
it's not going to make any difference, Joseph. What from a political viewpoint, what does this petition mean? Is it worth anything? Will it make any difference? Is it just giving us a feel-good factor? What do you think?
Well, I think the interesting thing about this is that the MPs and peers are picking up on the petition and actually retweeting, lending their voice, which doesn't normally happen. I'll point that out straight away. So I'm not saying it's going to make it. I don't think it will, but it's going to do two things. It's going to lead people to talk about it in the chamber in the House of Commons, which has to be reported on, and that's great as always. And the second thing it's going to do is going to encourage people to actually get political. And I've just tweeted this about an hour or two ago, but I said, look, if the same million people all go and sign up to a political party of their choice, be that Tories, Reform, even the Lib Dems, whatever they want to do, they could change the political system overnight. And that's what people hopefully are going to start to recognise, is that there are enough people angry at the Starmer government to really go and make a difference. So it's not over. Yeah. In fact, it's just starting.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jump in there.
Well, we'll talk about that.
Sorry,
Go on,
mate.
Danny.
Esla Laurent arrested while reporting on pro-Hamas protesters. Does look like he has been arrested by the looks of things. It looks like they're leading him away in handcuffs. That was a couple of hours ago.
Is that in Canada? Is that in Canada, is it?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, it does look it.
Rebels just said that a couple of hours ago, apparently they're going to try and crowdfund his legal.
So he's back home then, Ezra.
Yeah,
it looks like it.
I mean, this is not just Starmer, is it? I mean, this is the whole stinking Labour government, and all the MPs that voted to kill our senior citizens for a start. I mean, their names for me should never ever be forgotten. I mean, look, we could potentially be on the verge of a bloody war with Russia, and we've got David Lammy as our foreign secretary.
Oh God!
I mean, you might as well have Jimmy Cranky in charge of MI5. It's not
Mickey Mouse.
Don't fill him with confidence.
Have you seen the head of MI5, Paul? He's not far from.
No,
Jimmy
I haven't
Cranky.
actually.
Take a look at him.
So what do you know? Look, Joseph, what's Keir Starmer thinking tonight? What do you think he's thinking tonight? He's looking at this. Does it upset him, or is he just dismiss it?
I don't think that. Look, I think Starmer's got two problems. He's got a problem with the British public, but I don't think he cares about that one too much. What I am interested in is how his cabinet are responding to all of this, because they've all got their own ambitions. I think Starmer went in thinking he was the smartest out of the bunch, and he probably still thinks that, but he didn't realise how much political ambition he was taking in with him. And I'm pretty sure that everyone from Rachel Reeves, the former tea girl at the Bank of England, all the way through to Angela Rayner, thinks they've got a crack at becoming the Prime Minister in the next 6 months.
Wes Streeting.
Well, Wes Streeting as well. I mean, he's doing some very interesting things, and so is Angela. They're both voting against the assisted dying bill. I think that's a pretty sizable political statement from both of them. Even Diane Abbott's going to be voting against that, so it looks like that might be a win for common sense. But I mean, it's obviously a sensitive issue for people. But to me, seeing that so many high-profile cabinet members are going against this says something more than just the moral issue. I think this is also political. I think it's them saying we don't necessarily need you, Mr. Starmer. And the more the British public get behind that sentiment, the more they're going to believe they can overturn him. And actually, I think we could see a very early stage form of what happened with the Tories, where they had a new leader every 10 minutes because no one wanted to stick it out. So that's my hope. So I don't think Starmer will be going to bed too happy. To me, he's been looking older and older at every PMQ. He seems to have less and less black hair dotted among the grey. So we're gonna hopefully see a worried Starmer.
My only issue with that is, look, we get rid of one cheating lying hypocrite
out of the frying pan into the fire,
and then we get the ginger growler. I mean, it's not exactly, it's not exactly filling me with confidence, is it? I mean, I've got to apologise because I called him a lying, cheating, odious, incompetent fool. I forgot to say a communist, Brit-hating, narcissistic prick as well, so and they're his best attributes. I mean, has there ever been a more hated politician in this country? I know that Margaret Thatcher was hated in certain communities, and for fair enough reasons.
That's the difference.
Yeah.
I mean, Well, I mean, I want to know, the 9 million numbskulls that voted for Starmer. I mean, how much they be feeling now? I mean, for goodness sake, and all the people that didn't vote. And
I wonder if they actually realise, Rich. I wonder if they actually realise what they voted in. I know we was lied to from day
Obviously
one,
not.
wasn't we? With the manifesto was a complete and utter
Yeah.
load of tosh.
But
I
I
was
mean,
going through it.
this is
Go on,
this is
well,
this is down to incompetence in every single political party, including Reform. Let's just get it right. Nobody was ready for the election. The Tories weren't ready. Reform weren't ready. The Labour Party got in by default
Which I actually think the Tories deliberately didn't want to get back in. They seemed to do nothing at the time.
I'd say, just to weigh in on that, I've said this publicly before. I completely agree. I've got a little bit of insider knowledge on that, and I'd say that I have never seen. I've been in politics nearly 6 years. I've never seen a campaign run with the intent to lose before. But that was the closest thing I've ever seen. I think they'd had enough, to be perfectly honest.
So do I. And I don't think they wanted the
blunt
blunt
they
of
didn't
the
have any
brain.
donors left. They didn't have a team in CCHQ working. Yeah. We got told about halfway through the election that they didn't have enough money to continue their social media campaign. I mean, you don't go into an election that badly funded unless you want to lose.
So
I was going through a little list of.
That's true. Sorry, if that's true, how can anybody vote Tory again? Because they literally handed the keys of 10 Downing Street to the Labour Party and to communists. So how can anybody ever vote for the Tory Party again? You know,
I just think that they saw the country crumbling and they didn't want to take the brunt of it. I think that's where their thinking was during
after
the election
14
campaign.
years, they called it, Danny. 14 years.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
I was having this conversation with Carl, with the wife, earlier, talking about it. He said, look, I blame the Conservative Party. They made such a ricket of it that everyone just gave up, and all who was left with was the few numpties that wanted to vote Labour. I mean, I was going through a list of his lies and stitch-ups earlier that I could just think of off the top of my head. He stitched up the first-time buyers, homeowners in general, council tax rises, heating allowances. He stitched up the students. He's now getting around to those on benefits. We know that'll affect, don't we? He stitched up the farmers, giving millions away to overseas farmers whilst ruining our own. And by the way, you could also, whilst you're in the mood for signing petitions, the farmers' petition deserves a signature as well. We got the Southport issue. He's put ordinary innocent, mums and dads in jail for being worried about their kids. He's got the blood of Peter Lynch on his hands. There's alleged family scandals. I mean, the man's just a traitor to the nation. He's taken us to the edge of war with Russia. I mean, is there anything that this man won't do to stitch us all up?
All in 3 months.
Jesus.
4, is it?
I mean,
but again, I mean, I come back to it, Paul, and I'm like a broken record, but I don't care because I'm going to keep coming back to it because I'm sick of hearing. We know what the problems are. I'm sick of hearing what the problems are. We know what the problem is. We're going to have to.
We need a solution.
Yeah. And the solution is the pledge, and then a political party coming out of that, or
absolutely,
or the political parties coalescing out of that. That's what the solution is. And there's 1.5 million people have jumped on and signed this. I'm going to be honest with you; it's a pretty meaningless petition. All right, it's going to rattle a few cages, but it's not going to get rid of the government. It's not a good proposition that anyone's going to say, "Oh yes, let's have a general election tomorrow." And if we did have a general election, we're not ready for a general election. Reform's not ready. The Conservative Party aren't ready. So you'd actually end up with another, instead of 5 years of the Labour Party, you'd have 5.5 years of the Labour and probably the Lib Dems. So the reality is we're not ready. The right are not ready for an election. And all these pieces of the jigsaw need to be put in place. So what we need to do is stop moaning about what the others are doing and get our act together and sort it out ourselves. That's what I think.
Yeah.
I'm a bit bullish tonight, Paul.
I agree.
So just to keep you updated, guys, we now have 3 times the amount of viewers that Sky News has live. Thank you very much. Claire Harper is a new member. Bob, thanks, Bob. Where are we? Remember that Keir the traitor Starmer has no heart and will double down. Ernie confirms it. Ezra arrested in Canada. Phil, thank you, Phil. Together we stand, divided we fall. Joseph, if there was an election next week, how do you see that panning out? You're the man with a finger on the pulse. What would you predict? What will the UK parliamentary? What would it look like if there was?
I don't like to to doubt the sincerity of the British public, but based on the latest polling, we get almost the Tories back in charge. I don't know if they quite get over the line. But I think there would be a case to be made for a Tory reform coalition, because it could well be a hung parliament. I mean, that's the only positive message I can send in this time of darkness. I think if people got their act together, the idea of Kemi making a deal with Nigel might be slightly far flung on anyone's New Year's wish list. But in terms of what would actually happen in the polls, that could lead them to have to find a solution together, because I think Reform will be up to about 10 or 11 seats, and the Tories would be on about 250 something, which would leave them just short of a majority. Labour would still be ahead, but it would be a hung parliament, I believe, looking at the latest polling.
So you still think that Labour will be ahead if there was a general election next week?
Just, yeah. Mainly because of the lack of alternative and the amount of people staying at home. Look, I made this point earlier. I mean, 18% of the country, of the total electorate that's available to vote, voted. So if we think about that in terms of numbers, that's about 1 million more than the population of London, if that. So basically, you take London off the map, and suddenly the Labour Party never wins again. And we know why that is. It's because they've flooded London for years and years with people from
Labour
other countries
voters.
with a vote. Yeah. So we know why that is. It's the same reason that Sadiq manages to squeak through despite being the most hated man in London. But the other problem is that people don't go out and vote. And this is what I was saying earlier. Look, if 1 million people go and sign up to Reform tonight, as an example, instead of signing a petition, it doesn't matter what you think of Nigel. I mean, that changes the political system forever. So people have got to become more aware of their own power. I think that's one of the issues in this country. They are in America. It's almost like a point of pride to tell everyone who you're voting for. Over here, we're all a bit sort of skeptical about even telling people that we like voting at all. It's a different mentality. So I think the hopeful thing is that it's not like Labour have this mandate from anywhere. They're just squeaking by staying silent, and now they can't stay silent. Everyone sees what they're about, which is communism. Let's call it what it is. They're communists. So do people in this country like communism? They don't. That's why they voted Thatcher in. That's why they didn't go ahead with the miners' strikes, because deep down we quite like king and country. We've got a lot of backbone in this country that appreciates our institutions, that wants to keep them, and I think the British public are fed up. Eventually, we're going to have to get to the point where it's like France, where we're willing to go out on the streets for this stuff, because it's going to get to that point. And Starmer will wake up.
I find it. Do you know what? I find it incomprehensible, Joseph and Danny. I want to pose this question to you. I find it incomprehensible that Labour would get anywhere near the keys to number 10 again at the moment. But I mean, I know that, Joseph, you're far more politically switched on than me, but that really surprises me, Danny. Does it surprise you?
I do think, though, if there was a general election next week, which was what the question was, I do think there would be more people that would come out in their droves now to vote because of what's gone on. I think there would be more people that would want to have their voice heard now. That's my opinion on it. Whether that would change much, I don't know. The last poll I saw, which was a few days ago, would put Conservatives ahead. But you can't believe in any of these polls until the people come out. I just see, what with all the farmers stuff and what with all the immigration stuff, and, the NHS is still bad and the schooling is terrible. I just think people are actually going to get sick of it, and it would bring people out, more people out to vote this time.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually frustrated with this sort of conversation, to be honest with you, right? Because what we need to look at is reality. We're not going to have an election in the next couple of weeks unless something absolutely disastrous happens for the Labour Party, and they are exposed, literally blood on their hands for what's happened at Southport. I mean, that might change something, but they've still got a massive majority, and they can just get rid of the leadership and have a new set of communists in the country, new set of commissars. What we've got to do is do exactly what Trump's done, and it's plan properly and build a broad coalition of people from the sensible right, which is what I call us, not the far right goose stepping Nazi numbskulls that there are some of still there that we don't have anything to do with. So our lot, the ones that Richard Tice called our lot, right the way through to people on the right of the Conservative Party, and we build a broad coalition, and even some lefties will come over as well. Some sensible.
I was just going to say that as well. I mean, we're kind of forgetting about that. There's a group of people, Paul Embry as a name included, who on the left are basically our cousins, if you like.
The lefty Brexiteers. We need the lefty Brexiteers joining us, and there was a lot of them. There's a lot of people that, and that was the red wall, and so there's a massive potential. But the problem is, if we're just always squabbling and saying, oh, what if there was an election next week? There's not going to be an election next week. What we need to do is make plans now. Use the pledge. Use these political parties that are already there. Use UKIP. Use Reform. Use the right wing of the Conservative Party. Use the lefty Brexiteers, and build that broad coalition. That's exactly what Trump did. Trump's not dealing. Richard,
like you, I get frustrated. I get frustrated. I mean, look. I mean, earlier on, I was on X, and Nigel Farage was making a lot of noise about this petition. What's it up to now? 1.6 million.
1.6.
He was gleefully telling everyone about this petition. But what Nigel seems to have missed is it's that lot that have signed this petition.
Yeah.
Wakey, Nigel.
Yeah.
Wakey. Who does he think has been signing this?
Remember this, Paul, right? A lot of new people came into sort of our movement with the events that we've had over the past 6 months. A lot of people from different, very diverse backgrounds, diverse racial backgrounds, diverse religious backgrounds. A lot of them were Labour voters. They've told me they used to vote Labour or they used to support Labour, and they've come into our movement. So they've got to be welcomed, and they've got to be made to feel welcome, and they've got to be given a place.
Absolutely.
And we've got to listen to what they say as well. And we might not agree on all the dotting the I's and crossing the T's on everything, but we've got to find an accommodation with everybody that's coming over and saying something has to radically change in this country. So I want every single patriot, whether they're a left-wing patriot or right-wing patriot, to be able to, as long as they're sensible, they're not coming out with nonsense, to be able to have a home in the movement that we're building. And it is growing. Yeah. And that's why, I don't want to look at the negatives. I'm going, what can we do to save this country? And I think the pledge.
Well, we'll get on. Absolutely. We'll come on to that a bit later on in the second part of the show, Richard, because we've got loads to talk about there. Yeah. We was talking about, let me just read one or two of these out. So I thank you very much. Good evening, fellow patriots. Ken's a new member. Paolo, hi, gentlemen. Thank you, Paolo. Really appreciate that. Wendy, you better tell Tommy budge up because Ezra is on his way. Totally ridiculous. Claire Bear, thank you, Claire, as always. Good evening, guys. Well done for the pledge. And Painting Dreams Gallery is a new member as well. Really appreciate that too. Now, we was talking about Margaret Thatcher a minute ago. Now, I know there'll be people watching this that will either, she's a Marmite character in many respects. People either love her or they hate her. But I want you to watch this because I think Maggie hits the nail on the head. This is a 3-minute video. Please bear with us.
Most of the time she did, Paul. Most of the time she did it the nail on the head, I'm afraid.
The message is superb. Have a listen to this.
There's come into existence a fashionable view, convenient to many special interest groups, that there's no need to accept the verdict of the majority, that the minority should be quite free to bully, even coerce, to get the verdict reversed. Marxists, of course, always had an excuse when they were outvoted. Their opponents, they said, must have false consciousness. Their views didn't really count. But the Marxists, as usual, provide only bogus intellectual top dressing for groups who seek only their own self-interest. Plenty of groups operate more simply. They don't care whether they have persuaded their fellow citizens or not, or whether constitutionally elected governments undertake properly approved policies. These minorities will coerce the system to meet their own objectives if we let them get away with it. Many of the new campaigning pressure groups, run by professionals who move from campaign to campaign, some in the trade unions, some even in parts of the system of government itself, they have seen how our democracy has evolved rules to temper the power of the majority, and rightly so, and to provide safeguards and rights for the minority. They have spotted that if minorities bend the rules or simply ignore them, they may succeed in manipulating the whole system. The minority, indeed, may in the end effectively coerce the majority. You may recall that Burke had a phrase for it, as always. All that is needed for evil men to triumph is for good men to do nothing. Now, I hope I won't be thought too provocative if I complain again about the sloppy use of the word consensus in such cases. If there is a national debate and a constitutional vote about some matter, and if a recalcitrant minority says, the vote be damned, we're going to do our level best to stop the majority having its way, then, Mr. Chairman, it's no good saying we must seek consensus, we must negotiate, because such a group will never consent, whatever the majority thinks, until it gets what it wants. That is when we have to stand up and be counted. That is when we have to do what we believe to be right. We must never give in to the oldest and least democratic trick of all, the coercion of the many by the ruthless manipulating few.
There you go. I thought I'd play that tonight because I thought she was spot on the money. I bring in a new special guest, Boozy. How you doing?
I'm doing absolutely fine. How are you today?
I am very well. Thank you for joining us. Now, some of you guys may not know who Boozy is. Give us a quick intro so that my viewers know who you are and tell us about your channel as well.
Yep. So my name is Sintish, but I go by the name Based and Bougie. I'm basically a political commentator, social commentator. I basically just comment on everything that's trending, whether it's social issues, cultural issues, and right now mainly political issues in the UK.
And she's also famous for making me cry at the last event. So
Yes.
I haven't forgiven you for that.
Crying so hard. That was hilarious.
Oh dear, Boozy. Now, look, I know you was at. We're just changing the subject here for a minute. Go on, Richard. Did you want to say something?
I was going to say you did great with your interview with Maya yesterday at that event. I watched that. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. So well done.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you.
well done. Well, that's why she's here tonight, because obviously, look, let's go back a couple of weeks now. Peter Cardwell, is it Cardwell? Yeah, Peter Cardwell. At Talk TV described Tommy as a racist, and he doubled down on it as well. Now, yesterday, a few patriots, Bougie included, went up to Talk TV Towers to demonstrate and make their voices known. Tell us how the day went, because I know that you was there, and tell us how the day went and why you was there, please.
Well, first of all, it was a very windy day, but we persevered. The day went fantastically well. There was a few of us, but we came there with a purpose, and that purpose was to completely dismantle this idea that the mainstream media keeps pushing, that Tommy Robinson's a racist. I've had encounters with Tommy Robinson, and he's always been very humble, very sweet. He's always the first person to say, darling, I'm very busy. I'll get back to you soon, or darling, here's my number if you need anything. I've never experienced any racist feeling towards him. So it was very important for me to go out there, because I think what the media likes to paint out is that Tommy Robinson would hate someone like me. And it's very important for people like myself to say absolutely not. Not only that, but the mainstream media is like, haven't you guys done enough? Like, the guy's literally sitting in a jail cell because of you guys, and this narrative that you keep pushing is like, you've drained his bank accounts. You can't even spend, time with his family. You've drained all his businesses. Like, you've completely attempted to dismantle this man's life. So it's just like, haven't you guys done enough? So yesterday was just our like enough is enough moment, and that's how it went.
And it was a very diverse crowd, wasn't it?
Very diverse. There was Iranians there, there was Jamaicans there. There was actually a Nigerian lad there, and he said something to me that kind of hit me. And he said that the UK is one step away from turning into Nigeria. And what he meant by that is the UK is one step away from turning into a socialist, Marxist state if we are not careful, if more people don't speak out against, situations like Tommy Robinson being arrested for releasing a documentary. That's things that would happen in my country, in Congo. And people just disappear for simply just exposing information about Parliament back in Congo. So the fact that this is happening in the UK and people are not awake to this kind of blows my mind.
What was the atmosphere like there, and was there any response from Talk TV at all? Did you get any answers or
No, I
anything
know
at
the
all?
men definitely. Yes, I know the men. I know Ricky and Mayha definitely tried to get into the building. They would not let them at all. I know a lot of police cars started to pull up, just like, yeah, just watching the building, but they didn't actually do anything. I think it's because it was a small crowd, but if it was a bigger crowd, then they definitely would have done something because that would have been a threat to them. So yeah.
So just, look, thank you so much for coming on and telling us that. As I said, first of all, before we go any further, just tell the viewers where they can find your channel. The name of it again?
Yeah, so you can find my channel. It's Based and Bougie. On YouTube, you can also find me on Twitter as well, Based and Bougie, and on Instagram, I'm Brown and Bougie. Yeah.
So, guys, please go over and support this lovely young lady. I've met her in person. She's an absolute superstar. But apart from making me all teary, just tell us what's your experience been around being around the movement? That you've been around it now for a little bit. What are you finding?
Oh, it's been a very horrible experience. Every time I go, they always try to push me out and call me the N-word and all kinds of. No, I'm joking. No, I've had a very lovely experience. I think what was very shocking to me was just how warm and welcoming everything is. I feel like the British, they're like every other culture in the sense that they were happy for people to come into the country as long as you integrate. I originally come from Congo, and I know if people was to come into my country and try to change the culture, change the religion, I would be completely outraged. And we have a lot of sympathy when it happens in Palestine. We have a lot of sympathy when it comes to the Native Americans, but for some reason we don't have that sympathy when it comes to the native English people. And I feel as though you guys have been very tolerant, maybe too tolerant. And yeah, sorry, I'm kind of drifting away from the question, but yeah, every single time I have been around the movement, everyone has been very supportive, very welcoming, and their main aim has always just been unity. That's always been the main goal.
I always say this, Richard, because you've been involved in the movement for such a long time, that it's so important that we bring all sorts of people in from all different backgrounds. They're all welcome. We've always said this.
This is the mythology that's just crazy. When I first started the movement in 2017, it wasn't EDL, it wasn't that, it was the veterans and the football lads. But we had a very diverse crowd. The first event we had, first event that the football lads did, they had a Sikh guy speaking. We had ex-Muslims speaking at all our events. We had a soldier, a black lad that was served in the police and served in the prison service and served in the army. So it was always a diverse crowd. And obviously the reality is 80% of the population is white, so there's always the majority is always going to be white. But there was never any racism in our events. And actually, when we had far right people, the real nasty far right turn up, they've always been shown the door. They've always been put out of our events, and sometimes by force if necessary. So it's a myth that's been perpetrated by the mainstream media. It's a lie, and again, it gets boring because it's just as Bougie found out when she came on the event on the 26th. It was, there was just a feeling of love in that event for everybody that came, and it's actually probably more so for people that came that were from ethnic minorities, because we're so pleased that people from ethnic minorities or people that come to the country fairly recently are actually caring enough to come out on the streets and join us in our fight to make this country a better place. Because the problem is the left that wants to split us all into these little identity politics groups. They want to have people from Congo in one little silo. They want to have people from Pakistan in another silo. They want to have, well, all the white English in prison. They don't want people to be mixing and getting on with each other. That's just the reality of the situation. And
we just want to unite and get on with it, don't we? And have a good time together. That's what
I always quote it. I'm not sure if I quoted it yesterday, but I meant to. What's important to us is what's in your heart, that red, white, and blue in your heart, not the skin color. It's whether you are buying into being British and embracing British culture and everything. It doesn't mean you have to jettison your own culture, but you embrace what we've got and what we've been blessed with, and people that come and do that are welcome. That's what we've always been like. It's when and there's only really there's one demo. I'm not going to mention it on this podcast tonight, but there's one silo demographic that are causing a massive amount of the problems, and it's not people from Congo, it's not Christians from Nigeria, it's not Hindus or Sikhs. We know what I'm talking about, and that is where the major problem is in this country in terms of integration. And again, I'm not going to damage your channel by saying any more than that, Paul, but that's the reality of the situation. So,
is there a next move for you? Was anything discussed going forward?
Oh, for me, I'm just going to continue in my YouTube channel, just to continue to put out political content. And yeah, I kind of just go with where the wind takes me. Whatever interests me, I will document it and just upload it onto my channel. So yeah, that's just where I'm at. Yeah.
Well, brilliant. Thanks so much for coming on tonight. And as I said to you at the last event, people for me, people like you are every bit as important as any single one of us. You're doing a brilliant job. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, and thanks for what you're doing. Really appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having
me.
Can
I just say we're having an event in the new year. We don't know the dates yet, and it's very very much embryonic. We've only started talking about it today. But you're more than welcome to come again and report on that. It'll be a Tommy event, because obviously we're going to highlight his situation in prison. Obviously, we'll be thinking about all the other political prisoners as well. So that's going to be when everybody's bank accounts have recovered in the new year, and you're very welcome to come and report on that.
Yes, please send me all the details, or you can send it, or Paul can send it to me. I'll be more than happy to be there.
I'll send it to you.
Yeah. Right.
Have a lovely week. Thanks so much for coming on. Take care now. See you later.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. What a lovely girl. Really lovely girl. I spent about half an hour with her.
Really well.
She's lovely. Lovely human being. Right, where did we get to? Let's have a little look. Yes, Peter Cardwell.
Just quickly, Rich.
Yeah.
Rich, could Tommy possibly be there in February? I mean, who knows?
Well, that would be amazing. That would be absolutely amazing. I think it's highly unlikely. But we'll see what happens with this judicial review. I mean, again, obviously, people need to keep supporting Tommy for, to raise the funds for that. I think it's going through Ezra's channel. But, if they can get the judicial review and they can get him into a Cat D prison, it's unlikely he's going to be at a demo, but he'd certainly
Can I just read what Elon put today? Because some people won't have seen
go
that.
ahead.
So Elon Musk has put incarceration for contempt of court, even when valid, should not be for such an
Get your teeth in, Danny.
Yeah, I put it back there. Length of time. When compared to the many crimes that receive little to no prison time, this cannot be considered fair or just. That was Elon Musk about Tommy today, because at the bottom of it, it's a Tommy Robinson thing that he's.
That was actually also second tweet he put out. So he put one out about Tommy with, I think, the picture of Tommy in the jail cell that was going viral earlier. And some numpty decided to quote tweet with something that was completely untrue about Elon not knowing anything about British judicial system.
That's right. That's underneath it.
So he's retweeted it and calmly destroyed the person with that, which was quite satisfying.
Joseph, I get the impression that there's a lot more to come from Elon Musk and the UK.
Well, there are things going on with that. I mean, I think one thing I do know is there's Jordan Peterson's conference he did it last year in London, and he's going to hopefully do it again in February. I think it's can't remember the exact dates, but it's around the middle of February. And I suspect there might be a presence from Elon there. I don't know confirmation of that yet, but I'm hoping, if things go well, that could be a launch pad for Elon to test the waters. I'm working with an American think tank that's launching in the UK soon, and they're genuinely scared to come over for their own launch at the moment. So, I mean, it's quite funny to think about, but people are viewing the UK as unsafe territory. We had to give them absolute clarity on whether or not they'd be arrested just for questioning climate change as soon as they touch down. So, without going into the details, that's kind of where the world views the UK. But I think if we can get Elon over here on these shores, meeting the right people, then we can kind of talk about it. But look, I think what we need to be doing to really get attention is thinking about the people we want in that super PACs, thinking about the people who should be behind a leader, be that a Clarkson or a Nigel or whoever it is, regardless of who we like. Because I tell you what, Trump was hated by some of the people that are now in his cabinet. And this is something we've got to really think about, right? Because we have got a lot of political division on the right in this country. Full stop. We have had that for years. But at the end of the day, when you're trying to make things happen, you're going to have to work with your enemies at some point. And I tell you what, J.D. Vance never saw himself working with Donald Trump. I can tell you that right now. So the fact that he is now going to be in the White House as his right-hand man says a lot about what we can achieve if we put our heads to it. But the key is really getting those people in place who can bring that heavyweight.
I think we've got to be talking about Ben Habib. I think Ben
Habib, yeah, he's Clarkson, Asima Hoxha, throw some more names around, but all of these guys have got their own place in different areas on the political spectrum. I was going to go back to a point that was made earlier, actually, about how we bring all of this together. And one thing we don't do very well in this country is local level. We're great on national issues. We can put a rally together. We can get 30,000 people there. We can do a pledge. But if you look at what the Republicans have done in the last 4 years, I mean, let's not go into the whole question on whether or not the last election was stolen, but let's just say that that was won comfortably by 20 million dead Democrat voters. Then what they did in the last 4 years was to rebuild all of their local branches. They didn't think about Trump. Trump was just the figurehead, which is great. You need a figurehead. But they went around and did so much work on the local level, reviving dead Republican branches. We've got to start thinking about what we do at local level as well, because we've got so many communities that just can't get up to London. They can't go to a protest. They can't do X, Y, and Z. And they're all invested. I mean, I've seen it with the Welsh farmers. What Gareth Wyn-Jones has done in Wales is insane. Recreating that at local level is something we've got to start thinking seriously about.
Totally. And I think, I tell you who's done that, Peter Whittle with the New Culture Forum. He's got branches all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's doing a fantastic. And I think what we need to do, Joseph, we need to get the British working class involved in politics again. That's the big issue. Because a lot of them support what we're doing, a lot of them believe in what we're doing, but how many of them are voting and how many are registered to vote? And if we can, and I think that again, I keep harping back to the pledge because I'm a bit obsessive about things, and the pledge is my obsession at the minute. But if we can get that absolutely weaponized and get a couple of million people signing that pledge, it's free. It's not even like joining a party. It's free, and we get everyone's postcode. We know where they all are. We can communicate them with email. So we can very easily mobilize tens of thousands of people up and down the country in local areas to do everything that's in the pledge, which is all good, wholesome stuff, so it's
talking about that. Talking about that, Mark W. Thanks, Mark. Good news about the petition and well done on the pledge, but we must not forget Tommy's plight. Absolutely, we would never forget Tommy's plight. Warren Ray, this is a resounding confirmation of the people's feelings. We cannot allow the petition to be brushed aside. Someone earlier on said it's like a people's referendum, if you like, isn't it? It's very damning for Starmer. Jimbo, thanks, Jimbo. Phil, Elon is a legend for standing by us. I sent a message earlier on X, said that he will never be forgotten for the things that he's doing for the British people right now. Wisdom Nuggets, we are your brothers and sisters here in the US. Hang on and hang in there. Trump has his eyes and ears on you, and we are all behind you, dear England British. From the US, prayers for the UK. What a lovely, lovely, lovely message. Thank you so much for that. Rachel, Labour are doing an amazing job at uniting our kingdom, going off the petition so far. We'll get here eventually. Tommy's birthday card is on the way. Thank you so much for that. Let's have a little, before we talk about the pledge, we'll talk about the pledge last tonight. We're already 50 minutes into the show. I wanted to show you a little video that took my eye, a couple of videos actually that took my eye, that happened in Manchester. Now we talk about two-tier policing, guys, right? We talk about the way that the police are happy to treat ordinary British people, the way they treat the Pally protesters and pretty much give them carte blanche to behave however they wish. Have a look at this today in Manchester, or yesterday.
station and bought one.
Well, he's already explained it to you, hasn't he?
But what has that got to do with me?
Well, he's already
That's from Victoria Station.
He's already explained it to you. You need to carry on with the rest of the day. No one said
What have I done wrong?
if you need the toilet,
What have I done
suggest you
wrong?
go.
What have I done wrong?
Just turn round.
Answer my question.
I'm in my personal space.
Touch me again. Get off me. Get off me. Get off me, you... What are you doing? What the fuck are you doing? You refuse to stop it. Put your hand behind your back. The last silly cunt. The last stupid cunt.
You're under arrest.
That's all. I don't fucking touch you.
You have to excuse the
He didn't touch
language
him,
there.
Paul. He didn't touch him, Paul.
Now look, let's give you a little bit of context. As far as I'm aware, this was a large group or part of a large group of travellers who had gone to the shops to do their Christmas shopping. I've seen this 1,000 times before. It's something the traveller community tends to do. They go, all the youngsters get together and they have a day out. Now, I've watched that video 5 or 6 times, and the young lad involved, not once does he touch that police officer. He doesn't get in his face. He asks him 2 or 3 times, what have I done? What have I done? What have I done? He's actually done nothing at all. But then when you look at the enthusiasm and the force that he's used, one of those officers actually goes to kick him and changes his mind at the last moment, realises he's on film. And then the police woman has got her elbow in his neck on a wet floor.
And a knee.
My question, and a knee, what did that young man do to deserve to be treated like that? And more importantly, what powers do the police think they've got to treat people in that way? And it got even worse because as more of these youngsters arrived, this is how the police treat them at the train station.
Get your hand out, my friend.
Oh, stop. What are you doing? I'm not getting on here. I'm not from Doncaster. Definitely not. I'm not getting on here.
Get on the train. On the train. Get on the train. We're going to fall down the thing. You get on the train then. Get on the train. I'm going to get on it. You're not there.
Badge number. No need to put straight. Thank you on the train.
It's just a light.
On the train.
Hey, you fist up against me again, you get locked up.
There you go.
For what?
I don't know where I'm going.
I don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going. Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Where am I going? Get off of
Where am I going?
Where am I going? Where am I?
Now, these kids, these youngsters wanted to go shopping. Now, I want to know what they've done wrong. Were they marching down the road calling for the death and destruction of an entire race of people? Were they singing silly songs? Were they supporting prescribed terrorist organisations? They were going to shopping.
Were they
What's
face
going
masked
on?
up? No, they weren't face
No,
masked up.
did
were
they?
they?
No. You know,
You know?
this is 2-tier policing at its finest, in my opinion. I mean, Danny, what do you make of that? Looking at that,
Attack on another community, in my opinion. The travelling
Absolutely.
community. I think that's what it is. It's an attack on it. The first video you showed, Paul, I've watched it 2 or 3 times. The young fella did not touch the police officer at all. Didn't touch him. He may have,
not
as
at
he
all.
put it, in my personal space, but he didn't touch him at all. And he wasn't overly aggressive, in my opinion. They must have dealt with more aggressive people than that. No,
he wasn't aggressive at all in my book. He was
Totally over the top.
actually, I thought he was quite reasonable. I mean, Joseph, how do the police, how do they justify this sort of behaviour?
I'm going to take a slightly different tack on this, right? Because I think what's happened there, aside from obviously a basic lack of training on the half of the first officer in that video, is that they're profiling people, right? I know this. I've seen this happen in London, where I live. There have been incidents where the traveller community has, stolen stuff from a shop, and the police will then profile them afterwards. And I think that happens quite frequently. I think that, the police are somewhat within their rights to profile people. I mean, that happens because they have to. Now, the way they deal with it is never, certainly in London with violence, it's always to make sure that they're there so that people know not to steal. They don't do anything more than that. I think what's happened then is that they've obviously escalated to a point where they are beyond what they're capable of. They're beyond their knowledge. And this is one of the problems. I'm not going to say anything specific about the officers in those videos, apart from the fact they're clearly untrained. And I'll leave the viewers to delve into what I mean by that. But the point is, this police force that we have is incompetent. It's not skilled. And also, to go to your two-tier policing comment, this is exactly what we mean by two-tier policing. Other things can be questionable. There can be circumstances surrounding it. This is literally two-tier policing, because if you're going to justify this as a police force, why the hell are you not doing this to Hamas supporters who are chasing Jews? Why are you not doing this to the Muslim Brotherhood going around with machetes in the wake of the Southport riots? Why are you not doing this to people who are actively posing a threat of violence to the British public? Why is it only for people who might be shoplifters, right? And I'm not saying that.
Josie, I was going to say, I'm just going to pull you up on that a little bit, mate, because my experience of the young travellers when they come into town is usually they got a lot of money to spend. They worked hard, they've done whatever they do, they're out grafting. When they come in them big young groups, they're out for their young people. They want a day's fun. Yeah, they might be a bit loud, but who ain't at that age? But I said
as a caveat, there's always a small number who go and trash things.
Yeah. I get
it. Happens in every gathering. It happens with the football. It happens
with all young people. Yeah.
I mean, right? I'm not saying that it's because of their community or background. Far from it. I've got plenty of friends with travellers, particularly in the boxing world. But I don't think that the police are unjustified in profiling if they think that there could be violence in the same way that they would police a football match. It's the same scenario, right? The problem is when they're untrained in that capacity, which is what we're seeing in those videos, and they don't know how to de-escalate a situation. And my second point is that if they are going to be there profiling, why the hell are they not profiling the groups that are actually going to be targeting the British public?
Exactly. Well,
and
you know what?
There is a reason. There is a reason that they're not profiling those groups, because they're absolutely terrified of a violent response from them, because they couldn't control them. A violent response from one demographic would spread like wildfire throughout the whole country, and they can't cope with it.
As we saw in Hare Hills, and I think that's probably in the back of their minds in all of this. And the other
thing
we
seem to have seen in the Manchester airport.
Well, you know what, Danny,
which is still not being resolved. And I don't think, Paul, on this channel, we should let that go.
No, we won't let it go. And it's the other thing as well. You mentioned Joseph mentioned Hare Hills there. I don't know if you going back to bonfire night. I think it was up in Edinburgh somewhere. There was a few youngsters that had been running around letting a few fireworks off, and the police went in like the SAS. Meanwhile, back in Leeds, they were running around on motorbikes, firing off rockets. Not a police officer in sight. Not a police officer in sight. Right, let's have a look. What else have we got? I want to put this up on the screen. I thought this was quite telling on X earlier on. US truck, UK lorry, US fries, chips, diaper, nappy, elevator, lift, free speech, jail time. Now, I was out in New York not long before Labour took over. And I went to see a lot of friends in the space of about 3 days whilst I was in New York. Probably met about 20 or 30 people out there that I know. And almost every single one of them said, boy, oh boy, we hear you've got big problems in the United Kingdom. And that was before Labour took over. I'm frightened to speak to them. I don't know what they think is going on now, but dear, oh dear, oh dear. What was this one I had? Oh, yeah, Rupert Lowe put out a good one earlier on. London feels like an increasingly unsafe place. Stabbings, the R word, thefts, all just accepted as normal now. It's not normal. We must demand better. I don't know how Sadiq Khan sleeps at night. Probably very well, actually, I would imagine. I don't really think he gives a damn. What's been going on over the weekend, boys? Because we've had, what have we had? Three
Gatwick Airport.
3 suspected. We've had Gatwick Airport. We've had
The US Embassy.
Chester Station, the US Embassy, something in Birmingham.
Westminster
we've
Bridge
had
today,
another-
depending on what narrative you believe and what news media you believe.
Yeah, 1 minute it was a knife attack. The next minute it was a heart attack.
What does that remind you of? John Palmer.
Well, I think with reference to bomb hoaxes, this is something that happened in Northern Ireland during the Troubles. You'd have maybe 20 hoaxes and 1 actual IED. So the hoaxes can create havoc. You can, if you wanted to bring London to a standstill and you've got a recognised code word or you recognise terrorist organisation or you know how to make something that looks vaguely like a bomb, you could bring London to a standstill in a day. And I think that's
what you think might have happened, Richard? Is that what you think might be going on?
The problem is we're not been told because they never tell us about what terrorist, whether things are terrorist incidents or not. They just say there's an incident. There's a thing with bomb written on it with wires coming out of it. It's an incident. We don't know what's going on, Paul. It's like we go back to the attack on the soldier just before Southport happened, and we don't know anything about that guy. Of course, he was mentally ill. The black guy that nearly stabbed that soldier to death was mentally ill. That's all we know. We don't know whether he'd been reading the Quran. We don't know anything about him. All we know is mentally ill. And this is the problem. We've not been told the truth. And it could, could the Russians be doing stuff? It doesn't look like it because I think they'd be creating a lot more havoc than a few hoax IEDs.
Bit strange that there were so many incidents over one weekend. Tony Ball, thanks, Tony.
I don't think it was that many. I don't think it was that many.
There's a lot of people in the comments saying there was 3 stabbings in Manchester.
There was also some stuff in the week before. So, I mean, you had unreported drones over 3 different air bases in Norfolk. I mean, that's been going very under the radar. I mean, I know I used to be a journalist. If that story was being reported on the newswire, then no one was picking up on it. So I'm just going to assume that even PA weren't covering that. And then you go into this weekend and it's like everything has waited. It's all been on a timeline to get reported all at once. I know how this stuff gets put out. And I'm going to say as well with the bombs, the hoaxes, whatever you want to call them, it's quite convenient that comes out when you've got so much other stuff in terms of negative press for the government. This is always what you got to look at. I mean, what else is happening? So yeah, that's all I'll say on that.
Yeah, the way that the Southport news came out, was it just before the budget? Yeah, Tony Ball, King John was forced to sign the Magna Carta in 1215, and after his tyrannical reign. 2-tier sausages Keir Starling seems much more heinous. Doubt if he would ever sign the pledge, though. Do you know what? I don't think I'd want him anywhere near it. Bob Hunter, non-compliance. Nadia, thank you so much. Phil Bowyer, to save our loved ones and our country, we must stand together. No more super chats now, guys. Thank you so much for those tonight. Barnett Nicola, homeless are actually dying on the streets. Yeah, I see Keir Starmer announced how many millions was it? It wasn't much for our homeless veterans. Just a fraction of what they spend on the illegals every day. Pardon me?
Farmers overseas.
Yeah, farmers overseas, unbelievable.
563 million farmers overseas.
Danny, you should start a farm, mate.
I've got the room.
What's this one? Eddie Lee. Thanks, Eddie. Hi all. Please remember to support Mr. Die Hard Inman. Like Paul, we commit so much of his valuable time and assist in the movement. Keep up the great work, guys. Sign the election petition. Thanks, Eddie. Yeah, you can help Richard out over at his channel there. That would be really much appreciated. Kevin, cheers. Thank you very much. Chris, 1.6, no difference, but feel better for signing it. Yeah, I think a lot of people, I've never seen my wife sign a petition so fast in her life. Epic 2000, I know a lot of patriots. Is it really? Epic 2000, I know a lot of patriots went to the farmers' protest. Will they be standing with us at our events? Well, you would hope so, and I think people are starting to see the light. DJ PJ is a new member. Thank you, Robert. Ezra got arrested for refusing to cross the road. They're not much better, if any better, in Canada, are they? Cheers, Warrior.
I was going to say the difference is Ezra's not a chicken.
Joshua Steed, Freedom Alliance is a pie worth looking at. Thank you. Jack Wobbly. Tommy's birthday and Peter Lynch's funeral on Wednesday. Yeah. Andrew Brooks, Starmer's arse will be twitching like a rabbit's nose. Thank you very much, Tess and Lockley. Really appreciate that. Richard, talk to us about the event that we that took place yesterday. I came home very proud, knackered, but very proud.
It was, I mean, I don't get nervous about stuff at all, but that event had me really nervous because there's so much at stake. I mean, I do believe the pledge has got the keys to unlock a lot of things and bring people together, and I think it's the key. It's the key component that's missing at the minute because everyone's so desperate. We've got UKIP here, we've got Reform here, we've got the right wing of the Conservative Party, like we keep saying. There's got to be a mechanism to bring all those things together. And that's what I believe the pledge is. So we launched the pledge at Runnymede because it is the Magna Carta for the 21st century. And it was an amazing day. I mean, we had, I mean, from the point of view who we had there, Ben Habib, Peter Whittle,
Andrew Bridgen.
I was having a senior moment there. Andrew Bridgen. Of course, the legendary Paul Thorpe, Jeff Taylor.
No, Wilcox
and
was there.
Other people,
Jeff Taylor.
Some really, really good people. And they all signed it and made great speeches. And it was a really positive launch. And I think Andrew, I think Jeff Taylor, Andrew, and Ben really stole the show with what they said. It was powerful. And I tell you who else did. Harvey, the Jewish gentleman that stood up and said, look, his family came here to escape from persecution and escape from the horrors of what was happening in Europe. And
he's very emotional, wasn't he?
He was very emotional because he knows what's at stake for his children, his grandchildren. Lovely guy, and there was a lot of just ordinary people like us signed it, Paul, and so I think it was absolutely fantastic. I think our friend David, who did all the work in the background, did an absolutely outstanding job. And I always take my hat off to him. He's he just beavers away in the background as well. Gets no thanks for it because he doesn't want any recognition. But it was an amazing day, and I think that was the start of something really big. And I think things will grow from there because I think a lot of people look at that now and they go, I mean, to be honest with you, I can't understand why anyone wouldn't sign it. To be brutally honest with you, you've got to be a pretty belligerent character.
Well, that's the next step. That's the next step now, isn't it? I mean, we've seen a petition go viral over the last couple of days. 1.7 million votes.
Well, the thing is, here's the thing,
up.
Paul. This is the thing, right? If that petition's got 1.6 million people signed up to it, right? Then the pledge should have 10 million people signed up to, because that petition is not going to go anywhere. The government is not going to fall. It's like Joseph said. It is therapy for people that want to see political change, but it's going to make a bit of noise. It might make Keir Starmer uncomfortable. It's not going to change anything in the short term, and we're not ready for change. What we need to do is use the pledge to build that momentum.
Exactly. Make them all uncomfortable. That's what we need. We need to make them all uncomfortable, not just one of them, all of them.
I want to see Nigel shifting in his seat. I want to see UKIP shifting in their seats. I want to see the Conservative Party shifting in their seats, and realizing we've actually got to get really serious, like Trump got serious, like the Republicans got serious, and we've got to build that consensus on the right. And like Joseph said, which is a very vital point, get those red wall Brexiteers to join us as well, and start, finding out what common ground we've got and how we can actually come together. Because of course you've got the SDP there, which which if people are lefties look, I'm not a socialist. I despise socialism, and I'd never
have guessed that.
No,
Richard.
I know. But I mean, but the point is, a lot of people come out of socialism, see the light, and they become the most ardent conservatives you'll ever meet in your life. It's like any converts. They become very, very fervent. So I thought it was an excellent day. We had Sammy there. We had loads of good media people. Wendell came and filmed it and shot some fantastic stills. So it was a good day, and we deliberately didn't want to have a room with 1,000 people. We could have filled that room 10 times over, but we wanted to keep it very quiet, very private, very not flamboyant. We just want to have it
low key.
That's what I'm looking for. That's what I'm looking for. Very low key, and I think that's what we did, and it was great. And your video, Paul. I was going to say I watched it in the car when I was driving home. I didn't watch it in the car when I was driving home, but I listened to it in the car when I was driving home. And it was fantastic the way you edited that together and put it all together. So
I got to bed at 3 o'clock.
I'm sure you did. I'm sure. Well, I was asleep.
3 a.m.
I had about 3 or 4 whiskeys and went to bed early.
Right, we're going to start winding it down. I'm going to get through the rest of the supers. Joseph, before you go, is there anything you wanted to add to tonight's proceedings?
Yeah, I just think we're talking about names who can become the next iteration of the super PAC that's going to hopefully happen in all the countries that are suffering under the burden of socialism. I want to throw another name into the mix. A good friend of mine, Dr. David Starkey, who's a very well-known historian. For those watching who don't know him, go and check his YouTube work out. Absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And if I can make a little plug, I've got a very interesting interview coming out with him, which will feature not this week coming, but the one after on my Twitter. So you can follow me there at Nero Returns. But we're going to be diving into the English Constitution and what we need to do to actually overturn things. So patriots like to talk about the English Constitution, common law, things like that, important things that we like to talk about. You mentioned Runnymede just then. David knows history 10 times over and can pull dates from places that I didn't even know they existed. So we're going to have a good interview. That will be all uploaded onto my X free of charge for people to watch. So have a look.
Well, make sure you give us a link and we'll share it and make sure that people get to watch it.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers for that, Paul. But yeah, my final thoughts really are just the light is not just at the end of the tunnel. It feels a little bit closer than that. And I think we've got January with Trump's inauguration just around the corner. So have a glass for me at Christmas if I don't see you again beforehand. And I think the time is there. We just need people to come together.
We're getting there. Joseph, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Yeah, bringing people together. Absolutely. Yeah. Joseph, thank you so much I'm going to get through the rest of the supers. I won't bore you with that, but thanks for coming on, mate, and I'll speak to you in the week.
Cheers, Paul. Cheers, guys.
All the best. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Yeah. There you go, Joseph Robertson. Always good value. Lovely man. Lovely man. Robert says, this is our 1381. Thank you, Robert. Janice, which film did you end up watching, Paul? I ended up watching Home Alone. There you go.
Well done.
Pauline Robinson, no British military given to EU, no Chagos, we're done. Jace the Ace, 71, the chat moves too fast. All the best to all of you. I love it when like-minded people align. Unfortunately, Jace, I've actually got it on slow-mo tonight, but we have had 6,000 people putting a message on the board tonight. That is why it moves fast. Warrior speech, pensioners freezing, farmers tax to ruin, and the rest of us paying the price for their failures, Britain. It's time to stand up. Absolutely 100% agree. Seabass Johnson, if us Americans could sign, you'd have 77 million. That would be nice, wouldn't it? Unfortunately, they won't be able to, will they? Matty, so many Labour supporters regretting their vote. I would imagine they'd hang their heads in shame. I don't know about regretting. I mean, who'd admit they voted Labour now? Cheers, David. Cassian Damon Kane became a new member. Miss Essex how many has signed the pledge so far? Well, the numbers are out of date, but roughly, Richard.
Last time I checked, it was about 26,500. But I'm guessing it'll have gone up by a good spike from yesterday. So I'm going to check that when we get offline here, and I'll report back next time we're on. So just hoping all the systems are working. This is where I'm getting a bit nervous.
Paul Holmes, thanks, Paul. Hi, Paul. It says, I will sign the pledge online, but I want to sign the document too. Are there any plans to move this around the country so we can sign in ink?
That's something we will talk about, because I personally think that's a good idea. But obviously, it's a lot of work for us, and it's a big time commitment to do it. And I think, as it is at the minute, we could only do it with us doing that. We'd have to go, Paul, and take it with us. Do you know what I mean? But I would like to look at that again, in the new year. And but again, a lot of, brutally honest, a lot of it comes down to, finance and time and all those sorts of mundane things, which is unfortunate, But I'd love to do it. I would love to take the pledge on a UK wide tour, and go into in Northern Ireland in the early parts of the before the First World War, that when there was talk of home rule, they had a document called the Solemn League and Covenant, and 120,000 people signed that in a few weeks. And obviously a lot of those people then sadly went off and died in the First World War in the Battle of the Somme and what have you. But people can mobilize very, very quickly if they get passionate about it. So I would think it'd be a great thing to have big signing ceremonies around the country. I think that'd be great.
So I mean, people could get involved, Paul. Just before you read that super chat, people could get involved, because basically, you can just go onto the pledge, copy the link, and paste it on your Facebook, urging your friends to sign it. I mean, if an average person's got 200 people on their Facebook, maybe some people got 3,000-4,000. That's an awful lot of people that can sign that pledge. All you got to do is copy the link, paste it onto your Facebook, and say, "Can I ask all my friends, please sign the pledge?"
For me, the next step. That is the next step. Let me just read a couple more of these, and I'll tell you what I think on that. Matty, the pledge needs to be seriously pushed. Absolutely. Cheers, James. Cheers, Tim. Stephen, Starmer is underestimating people power. Epic 2000, I watch you, B&B. Love your content. Blimey, that was from earlier. Fiona, thank you very much, Fiona. John Allen. Ben's stopped more boats in 24 hours than Bert's stopped more boats in 24 hours than Starmer.
Nearly stopped me as well.
Laurie, can't wait to see what James no brain of LBC has to say about the petition. Oh, that'd be fun. Yeah, that will be fun, definitely. Blokes with superpowers, thanks for the clarification on Bassenden Boogie's channel name. Followed her with notifications on the same as your channel. Excellent. I think Richard, now I said to you yesterday, I'm going to be honest and say out loud what I said to you after the event yesterday. I mean, we've all put so much work and effort into this. And I think now, what I said to you, it's now time for the people to step up. This is their pledge. We've given it to them. We've worked our proverbials off day and night to get where we are now. But it's now down to the people to pick this ball up and run with it.
Exactly.
We can't carry it from all the way, can we?
I mean, the reality is, it's down. I'll tell you what, as well. It's down to other YouTubers. It's down to other people that are prominent that know about it. They need to pick it up as well. So I'll lay out a challenge to them. I'm not going to name people. I'm not going to embarrass them. But there's plenty of YouTubers who have big followings who know all about this. They know what it's about, and they either. I was going to use an expression that one of my friends from Northern Ireland used, but it's about doing something or getting off. Well, I'll not use that, but they need to basically go for it.
Put up or shut up.
They need to put up or shut up. That's a polite way of saying what I was going to say. They need to put the money where the mouth is and start doing this. But I think the people, what you said, Danny, is vitally important. If you've got a big Twitter account, share it. If you've got 30,000 people on Twitter, if you've got 10,000, if you've got 100,000, just share it. Just get people to sign up to it. It's not costing anyone anything. It's just and the whole idea, when you read it, no right-minded person could disagree with it. So if you've signed it and you've already signed it, just share it with as many people as you can. Start telling people about it, because this will, if we do this, I know. I don't know about you, Paul. I know that this will save the country if we get a few million people in it. It will. So if you sign it and share it, you are going to be part of saving the UK. That's how vital this is. And it's not.
And I'm going to go even further, Richard. I'm going to go even further. What you said now about, YouTubers, etc. We've given them a vehicle. When I say we, I don't mean just me and you, but a group of people have given everyone a vehicle that can help save this country. Now, we'll now find out who's in this to save our country or to fill their purses.
Absolutely.
At the end, and that's the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Every single patriot that cares about this country now, if they've read the pledge and they agree with it and there's nothing there to disagree with, they should be pushing the bloody life out of the pledge.
Look how easy it is. Look how easy it is, right? Click on that. You just click copy that, copy it, and then just go over to your
Job
Facebook.
done.
There you go. I'm doing it as we speak, right?
Yeah.
I've just pasted it onto
Thanks,
my
Mr.
Facebook.
Wolf.
There you go. Next. Shared. Job done.
Job done.
That's how quick it is.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's actually just gone on my
ADHD
Facebook
Navigator.
page.
Yeah, it's easy, isn't it?
Please look at the petition on
What
Google.
did that take me?
It's
20
going up
seconds?
Please look at the petition. It's on Google. It's going up as you watch it. Never seen this before. Reflection is on the cards.
Re-election.
Please look now whilst live. Danny, can you have a look whilst we're live?
Times. Yeah, I mean, we have a few times already tonight, but I'll have another look at now. We are looking at nearly 1.7 million.
Yeah.
Nearly
Well,
1.7
That's going to be.
My answer is very simple, Paul. That 1.6 million should be signing the pledge. It's as simple as that.
Absolutely.
Don't get me wrong. I think it's great what's happening with the petition. I'm actually not going to sign that petition. As bad as this really sounds, I'm not signing the petition because to me, it's giving people false hope, and it's not going to force a general election, right? I get it's a good idea.
But I do think it does show. I do think it does show how people are so cheesed off. I mean, I was going to swear then, but pissed off with this government.
Here's the thing, Danny, right? Our electoral system is not ruled by petitions. It's ruled by one day, once every 4 or 5 years, and that's the general election. And the only way that we can make change is not by signing a petition. It's by getting involved in politics. It's by registering to vote. It's by signing the pledge, joining a political party, doing what we do, commenting about politics all the time, getting people motivated, getting people, on fire to save the country. That's how to do it. And listen, it's great that 1.6 million people have signed it. I'm not signing it personally because I don't see the worth of it. But when it comes to what we're doing, there's a lot of worth because what we're doing will affect the political system. Because what we've done, what we'll have, and the other thing is the government's data harvesting all that information you're given anyway. But
I thought that earlier on. We're actually giving them some very valuable info.
All the people who are against the Labour Party will have all just given everyone their email addresses. But no, I mean, I'm not against parliamentary petitions. They are very important. But there's ones that you could get behind that would be a lot more valuable than that one. That's my only gripe with it, right? But I think what we're doing can change the body politic, and that's the vital thing about this, and that's why I keep going on about it.
We need days of action. I think we need to crack on now and get days of action going. Let me get through the rest of the supers. Mags, thank you. Podcast of the Lotus Eaters. It's shocking. I actually intend to watch that in bed tonight. James Bond, thank you. Ban every single MP, all 650 of them, from every bar and restaurant in this country, unless they publicly denounce net zero. Can we have a petition for this? You'll probably see a few petitions popping up on the back of this one over the next week or two. Linda, cheers, appreciate that. Real British media, petition heat map is interesting. London is lost. Yeah, I noticed that earlier on. Knobbing nuts. Wouldn't it be fantastic to get Jordan Peterson and Elon to speak at the next event? Oh my God. Don't rule anything out. I'll say that to you. Ezra arrested in Canada. Thank you. We saw that. Yeah. Keith Griffiths, ex-plod, friend of Danny's, I'm ashamed. Do you know who that is, Danny?
No, mate. Ex-plod, friend of Danny's, I'm ashamed. Don't know. If you're a friend of mine,
Linda,
message me.
Congrats on the official launch of the pledge. I've spent my weekends sharing the link for the pledge page in as many comments on X as possible. Linda, thank you so much for that. Linda is doing exactly what we need.
Everyone,
exactly.
We all need to do that.
Cheshire Cat Musings. I attended the United Kingdom rally in October. Never felt so safe in my capital city. Did a few videos about it on my channel. Cheshire Cat Musings. Nip over there and have a look at the channel and subscribe if you can. Help out a fellow patriot. Bloke with superpowers. Police could justify actions to themselves in a certain East Europe country in the 1930s. 1940s, could the same mindset justify similar behaviour now? Cheshire Cat Musings again. My seat, Runcorn and Helsbury, is getting Reform UK by-election materials. My MP has been charged with common assault.
Oh, yeah.
Reform came second in July. Yeah. He's been charged, hasn't he?
Yeah. That's potentially a Reform seat right there. You know, that should be a shoo-in for a Reform candidate without a shadow of a doubt.
Starmer, prison, extra supply of soap. Hayley, link for the pledge, please. Hayley, it's running across the bottom of the screen there. Appreciate that. Epic 2000. We have 56 months wait until the next election. If we want 5 million on the pledge by then, that's 89k new signatures per month. We need.
Brilliant.
Let's get to work. Yeah, thank you.
Let's do it.
So every single, a lot of people say to me, Richard, you know what, I'm fed up with, all we ever do is moan and whine and blah, blah, blah. Well, now's the time. We've given you something tangible to get out there and work with. Catherine, get him out ASAP. Thanks, Catherine. That is the last of the supers. I think we've just about covered it all. Is there anything, Danny, you wanted to end up with tonight?
No, mate. No, I'm more than happy with what we've covered tonight. It was great. I thought the tonight's show was really good. Really pleased with it.
Thank you very much. I wrote this down earlier on, and I didn't read it out, but I've written down, I honestly believe that Labour will be on their way out. But then you look, Yvette Cooper, Rachel Reeves, David Lammy, Wes Street, and I think they're all on their way out. But the bottom line is this. They have been sussed. The British people have found them out. And they're all about as popular as a fart in a spacesuit. Keir Starmer's skin must be thicker than a rhino's. But today, the message is loud. The message is very, very clear. Keir Starmer, you're not wanted here. And I think, well, then we're that guys, don't you?
I agree.
We got one more super came in late there. Rowena, thank you very much, Rowena. Richard, I copied down the pledge. If anyone wants the hard copy, how to share, I can share it. They can print off from that. Did respond to your short email. Thank you so much.
I'll check that, Rowena, because I haven't checked that email account, Rowena, so I'll dive onto that and I'll check that probably tomorrow sometime. That's fantastic. Do you know what I mean?
We need all the help we can get now.
We do, Paul, and I think there's a lot of really brilliant people on your channel, on my channel, that are actually doing things. They're getting their hands dirty and they're rolling the sleeves up and they're getting involved. I'm not going to name names, but someone just out of nowhere has come on board helping with in fact. Three really good people's come on board with Facebook, Paul. Yeah, Danny.
Yeah.
So we've got.
And we need you to be sharing a pledge. We need you to keep your ears open. We will be coming out of a plan of action. We want a day of action, the National Day of Action, before too long. I've got something in my mind for Christmas as well. So let's have We've had our official launch. We're up and running. We've got thousands and thousands of people that have already signed up. The battle starts here.
Yeah, totally. Can I just finish? And
you're all in. We're all in it together. Go on, mate.
This was something that our friend said on Saturday. He said, we need freedom of speech to expose evil. I thought that was fantastic. Just that one phrase that David said. We need freedom of speech to expose evil. That little tiny phrase from his speech, you know, and Jan, who was there, picked up on it and highlighted it to me. And I thought, yeah, that really is a powerful little phrase. Just out of a brilliant speech, that one phrase was superb.
That's great.
Absolutely. Right, everyone.
What a great weekend.
Oh, it's been great. I mean, I've got to be honest with you, mate. I'm absolutely knackered. I can't wait to hit the sack because I've been non-stop for 2 days. Yeah.
So am I.
But it is what it is.
Yeah.
We've all got to do our bit. Right. Thanks very much, Danny. As always, Richard, thank you so much.
Thanks, mate.
Thank you, everyone, for watching tonight. Before you go, please smash that thumbs up button. If you haven't done so already, you know, please subscribe. Please follow Richard's channel. And we'll see you next time. Have a great week, everyone. Stay safe.